Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. Two names that will always be remembered in music history. Their voices blended like magic. Their songs, like Bridge Over Troubled Water, The Sound of Silence, and Mrs. Robinson, touched millions of hearts. People thought they were best friends, a perfect pair who shared everything. But behind the sweet harmonies, something was broken. Something big. Because for many years, Paul Simon refused to even speak to Art Garfunkel. Not a word. For decades, the silence between them was louder than any song they had ever sung. And the reason why? It is not what most people expect. Let us go back to when it all started. Paul and Art met as young boys in school in Queens, New York. They became friends early on and shared a love for music. They began singing together when they were just teenagers. At first, they called themselves Tom and Jerry. They even had a small hit with a song called Hey, Schoolgirl. People liked them, but it took time before they became truly famous. Years later, they renamed themselves Simon and Garfunkel and started writing deeper, more powerful songs. Their music was full of emotion. Fans loved them because their songs felt real and honest. By the late 1960s, they were one of the most famous duos in the world. They were winning awards, filling concert halls, and topping the music charts. But while everything looked perfect on the outside, trouble was growing on the inside. Paul Simon was the main songwriter. He worked hard on lyrics and melodies. He wanted things a certain way. Art Garfunkel had the voice that brought the songs to life. His singing was clear and soft, almost like a dream. But slowly, Paul began to feel like he was not getting enough credit. People would often praise Art's voice and forget who wrote the songs. That hurt Paul. He felt invisible next to Art, even though he was doing most of the writing. Then something else happened. Art Garfunkel got a role in a movie. It was called Catch-22, and it was being filmed far from home. While Art was away acting, Paul was left alone to write music. He waited for Art to return so they could finish their next album. But Art kept filming. And waiting turned into frustration. Paul felt like Art had chosen acting over their music. He felt abandoned. And that feeling never really went away. Their final studio album, Bridge Over Troubled Water, came out in 1970. It was a huge success. But by the time the album was released, their friendship was already falling apart. They went their separate ways soon after. Years passed. Both of them worked on solo careers. They had some success on their own, but fans always hoped they would come back together. Sometimes they did reunite for a concert or a special event. People cheered when they stood on the same stage. But once the music stopped, so did the talking. In interviews, Paul would avoid speaking about Art. Sometimes he seemed angry. Sometimes just tired. Art, on the other hand, would say kind things about Paul, but would also hint that he never understood why Paul was so distant. Paul felt like Art never truly respected his work. And Art felt like Paul was being too cold. It was a wall between them, one that stood for many, many years. Then, in an interview many years later, Paul Simon said something that surprised people. He said that being in a duo was never easy. He said it felt like being in a marriage where one person is always angry. He admitted that they were never as close as fans believed. The friendship had cracks from the beginning. The reason they stopped speaking? It was not because of one big fight. It was many small things. Jealousy. Ego. Hurt feelings. Misunderstandings that were never fixed. Paul once said, "I love Art, but I do not always like him." And that simple sentence said so much. So why did Paul Simon refuse to speak to Art Garfunkel for decades? Because sometimes, even when you make beautiful music together, the real-life story is not so beautiful. It is full of emotion, just like their songs, but not always the happy kind. And maybe, after all the songs and all the concerts, what they really needed was time apart. Time to heal. Time to understand each other from a distance. Whether they ever truly made peace is something only they know. But their music still lives on. It still plays on radios and playlists around the world. And when you listen to those songs, you can hear something special. Not just talent. Not just harmony. But something deeper, two people trying to share one voice, even when their hearts were not always in tune. Musical note: bridge over troubled water, instrumental plays softly. Thank you for watching. If this story gave you something to think about, please leave a comment and let us know your favorite Simon and Garfunkel song. And if you love true stories like this, please remember to like and subscribe.